What the fuck is this?
The Bear Season 3 was not good. In fact, it was pretty bad. Like at times, shockingly, embarrassingly bad. Now this may seem hyperbolic, especially if like me, you're watching this show on Disney Plus, where the competition is, let's just say,
You're flailing. You're weak.
dog shit. Now, by no means am I saying this season of the show is as bad as the focus-tested franchise slop of Secret Invasion or the Kenobi show. You know, as this season does at the very least exude some competent filmmaking, editing, and performances. However, this latest season of Chris Stora's restaurant set dramedy fundamentally fails to deliver on the most important element of a TV show, or for that matter any work of art, which is its substance, the story, the script. Nothing fucking happens in this entire season. Let's go over what actually happens, shall we? Episode 1, Tomorrow. So the entire first episode of the season is essentially a 40-minute 9 Inch Nails music video, showing us a montage of Kami prepping and cooking food under the guidance of his old chefs, along with recapping events we've seen in the previous series, such as Kami training under this asshole, Claire leaving him, Mikey's suicide, yada yada yada, as well as Kami making his non-negotiables list. Nothing new really happens in this episode. Kami making Sydney's favourite dish was something we knew from season 1, showing us it adds nothing of value. The episode instead relies on the vibes, I guess, with the only tangible thing it adds to the narrative being this non-negotiables list. Now this isn't inherently bad. If the rest of the season picks up the pace after this episode, and some more actually meaningful and compelling events transpire, this slower episode could be a serviceable opener. Spoiler alert, it doesn't. Episode 2. Next. To summarise the events of this entire half-hour episode, Kami shows his co-workers the non-negotiables list he made, and everyone shouts a lot. Great. So the one singular new thing that last episode had appears in this episode, and it's delivered in a far more engaging, funny, and characterful way in this episode, to give this one credit. So what the fuck was the point of the first episode? Did Chris just run out of script? It was like, I just slapped some 9 Inch Nails on some shots of Kami doing things we saw him do countless times before. What the fuck was the point? Episode 3, Doors. We open on a 5-minute funeral for a character we never met that adds nothing new or interesting to the narrative. So that's cool, I guess. Then we see the restaurant running under Calm's new system and how dysfunctional it's becoming, ending in Kami getting pissed and having flashbacks to Claire and being locked in the fridge. I'm sure that'll be a one-off character moment that won't be repeated ad nauseum. Overall, this was a fine episode. Didn't hate it. At least something actually fucking happened. Episode 4, Violet. We open on a flashback of a 5-minute conversation between Claire and Calm that is incredibly cringe and adds nothing new or interesting to the narrative. Sydney gets a new apartment? Okay. And then the trap guy shows up. Woohoo, yeah, cameos, oh, exciting television,
Hey, you're coming, right?
Then, in the last minute of the episode, something actually happens. Woohoo!
Shit. Chef Sydney, why is Chef Carmen saying shit like that?
Because we're being reviewed.
I love watching TV that scams me out of my time only for something moderately engaging to happen in the last second to keep me hooked for the next episode, like some poor abused drug addict kept wanting more until they're left dead on the sidewalk, having overdosed on shots of Jeremy Allen White staring off in the middle distance melancholily, having a flashback of some shit. Oh, kill me. Episode 5, Children. Are the people who wrote this piece of shit. In episode 5, we open with more, you guessed it, flashbacks to Mikey and other things we saw in the last season. Yippee! Then everyone collectively loses their fucking minds over a restaurant we saw for one episode last season closing down. Okay. Who fucking cares? Meanwhile, the facts prep the dining room for the Tribune Review photo shoot and crack some haha funny jokes, let me tell ya. Definitely not ad-lib to pad out the episode, haha. Also, John Cena shows up. Yeah, cameos.
And his name is John Cena!
Episode 6, Napkins. More like nap time. I get it, because it's fucking boring. Now, when I got to this episode, I noticed the little description beneath it on Disney Plus. I was like, oh, that could be interesting. Tina searching for a new job. We see Tina kind of falling behind a bit in this new, fancier, more demanding kitchen environment. Is Carmen going to fire Tina? How will she deal with this? Where will her character go from here? Does this lead to interesting conflict in the kitchen? Nope! None of that shit happens. Turns out Tina goes searching for a job 6 years ago. In the past. I wonder if she gets the fucking job.
Which is an episode that follows Liza's character, Tina, a few years before the show began and her journey to working at the Beast before it was the Bear.
Yeah.
I want to shit talk Edibiri's directorial debut. It's not her fault the script is dog shit. I mean, come on. Who the fuck cares whether Tina will get a job at the Bear? We know she does. We've watched the last 2 seasons of the show and she's in it, dipshit. At least we get a cute scene near the end between Tina and Mikey. But, I mean, if anything, that just adds to my dissatisfaction with this episode. Because, I mean, how much more interesting would that have been if, like, you know, Tina had been fired by Carmi and, you know, maybe she goes job hunting for an episode or 2. She breaks down crying because she can't find a job. And then she has this flashback, too, when she was hired by Mikey for the Bear. You know, just interweave this scene into the narrative a bit more interestingly. Instead, it's just, hey guys, this thing happened in the past at one point. No relevance to anything happening narratively in the present, but John Bernthal, LMAO, cameo time! Boring waste of time episode. Next. Episode 7, Legacy. How do we start this episode? Another Claire flashback? Well, blow me down, ain't that novel? Never seen that before. Is this show trying to communicate to the audience that Calm misses her and regrets what she said? Question mark? I wonder if these flashbacks have been shown 10 million fucking times of any significance. Luckily, we get some epic fact funnies this episode. Yippee! More pointless ad-lib shit to guzzle down my throat. Oh wait, this shit's not improv?
You guys get the chance to improvisationalize on the show, though?
We dabble in some improvisational activities every now and again, but a lot of it is really in the script. Everything is written. Everything is written. Everything is written.
I'm still afraid of boxes. You know I'm afraid of being in boxes.
Yeah, I know. I know.
You can't put me in a box.
I won't.
Oh wow, this is actual real dialogue and script time we're dedicating to this. Thanks, Chris!
Very, like...
With story, you don't need to improvise.
No, you honestly don't.
Somehow, though, by some miracle, an actual interesting dilemma arises in this episode for Sydney's character, where she now has to make a choice between staying at the Bear or joining this other dude's restaurant. Something new and moderately compelling actually happened. Yay! Only 7 episodes. Also, can I just take a moment to say how fucking good Elon Musk? The fuck is his name? Ebon Moss-Bachrach? What the fuck? Bachrach? Jesus Christ. How good Ebon Moss-Bachrach is in this episode. The little lip quiver thing he does in this scene is just mwah, chef's kiss. See what I did there? Because, you know, it's a cooking show in a restaurant and, you know, chef's kiss. Moving on to nothing, because that's about it for this episode, other than Ass Crack Guy having a Joe Biden moment and not going into labor in the last 3 seconds of the episode. Episode 8, Ice Chips. More like nice shit? Yeah. This one, you know what, this one's actually pretty decent. Almost solely because of Jamie Lee Curtis. I don't know what fucking crazy mad deal the devil she made to be this good at this role, but holy shit, she was born to play this part. Like, the two best episodes of season 2 are the ones with her in it, so, you know, it's no surprise the best one of this season has her as well. Like, the thought and attention she pays to the little mannerisms and the cadence of her character is so impressive and purposeful. It just makes her such a compelling character to watch.
Do you know what Gina said to me? Gina fucking said to me, she looked down at my stomach, she said to me,
You can't put me in a box.
However, I will say, out of the 3 episodes she appears, this is the weakest one. And while this is indeed the best episode of season 3, for me at least, because the concept for this episode is this one-on-one conversation between these two characters as one of them is about to give birth, it's quite confined and simple, which, you know, is good for a while, but it does start to overstay its welcome near the end, with this being one of the longer episodes of the season. Regardless, an enjoyable episode, which actually wrapped up some character arcs, had some interesting character interactions, some good anxiety-inducing scenes, and no fucking flashbacks to shit we already knew. Yay! Episode 9. Apologies for making you endure this god-awful piece of shit. Here we are, Episode 9. This, to me, was the death knell for this season. Up to this point, overall, I'd been pretty ambivalent about the whole thing. When I went to put on this episode, I was expecting, hoping, fucking praying that this and the last episode would redeem the season somewhat, you know? Would have something interesting go down, some new conflict or drama. Boy, was I wrong! I kid you not when I say I was leant forward with my hand over my mouth in utter disbelief for the entire opening scene of this episode. This shit opens on what is probably one of the most masturbatory, pretentious, embarrassing opening scenes to any TV show ever. We're shown this self-congratulatory film student tier video essay on the power of cinema that you'd expect to see shown at the Academy Awards. What the fuck is the point of this opening scene other than to make me want to kill myself? Did Chris Storer himself use telepathy to see into my mind so he could figure out the most excruciatingly cringe scene to torture me with? I like movies. I'm more of a movie guy than I'm a TV show guy. But this shit is just not it. It's not purposeful, it's not tasteful, and it certainly isn't fucking earned. Stop. Anyway, after that ass cancer, regrettably the rest of the episode does not get any better. We get Kami losing his shit because of how dysfunctional the kitchen is. Wow, that's new. And with flashbacks to him training under his old chefs. How original and not repetitive at all. I love reusing old footage to pad out the episodes. Woohoo! Following that, we get this thrilling dialogue scene.
You good?
Yeah, I'm gonna crack it eventually.
I didn't mean the plate.
I'm fine. Yeah. You good?
Yeah, I mean, I could stay later if you need,
No,
you know.
no. You should get some rest.
Now, to be fair, in isolation, this scene might be alright. You know, you have these two characters who have issues on their mind that they're too insecure to voice, which results in this kind of stilted conversation where the characters can't properly communicate their feelings to each other. Sure, that can be fine. But not when it happens so fucking often. Let's flash back to episode 1, shall we? Same shit. Episode 2.
Good morning.
Good morning. So, how long have you been here?
I'm good.
Yeah?
Yeah, focused. You?
Great, good, fine.
Same shit. Guess what? Episode 4.
She thinks I'm alone.
Are you?
Hey, did we make the week?
Same shit. Hell, never mind the rest of this season. This shit happens twice in this very fucking episode.
Can I try it?
please.
It's really good.
Really?
Hmm? Totally.
I know I haven't asked you in a minute, but...
Well, I'm all right.
Really?
Yeah.
It's okay if you're not all right, you know?
I'm sorry, but what the fuck is going on with the writing? Why are we spending time on this? We've already seen his character go through dealing with the loss of his mother several episodes ago. Multiple times! When a decent enough portion of your show just becomes the most vacuous, pointless, boring dialogue known to man, I have to start questioning why I'm even watching this anymore. And then to add insult to injury, the rest of the episode is just filler wasting time, leading us into this funeral service event for that restaurant that literally nobody, except for Chris Storer Dick Rider 69, gives a flying fuck about. Fuck this episode. Genuinely might have been the worst one of the entire show. If it weren't for this final episode. Episode 10, Funeral, is where I'd rather be than having to watch this shit. Now, when I initially scrolled through the episodes for this season before watching through it, noticed the description of the final episode, and had assumed that someone would end up kicking the bucket. Would it be Cousin? Would his loneliness get to him? Would it be Nat? Will she pull a Padme and die during childbirth? Or from a broken heart, whatever the fuck happens in that piece of shit movie? Perhaps it'd be Donna. I had no idea. But I was hoping it would be something interesting that would shake up the story. Not a funeral service for a fucking restaurant that the only reason anyone remembers is because, duh, cameo, Olivia Colman, I know who she is. Regardless, even after realising that's what the final episode would be, I thought the premise could still have potential. All these chefs meeting up to celebrate the last supper for this restaurant. Will Carmy finally reunite with Joel McHale's character who traumatised him so much? What drama will go down? Will the dinner slowly descend into an angry screaming match a la the episode Fishes last season? Well yes, but actually no. Firstly, we're inundated with yet another flashback scene of Carmy training under a chef. How original! This goes on for 5 minutes. Nothing interesting is communicated. It's just Carmy prepping a fucking chicken. More 9-inch nails, yay, I love nothing burgers with nice music. Honestly, the overuse of sentimental music in this season is another issue I've yet to really harp on, but my god, what is with it? There is such an insistence from the music that what we're seeing is this really important moment, and it's just not. Anyways, after that bullshit, we finally get to the funeral service. Richie reunites with the waitstaff he worked with in the episode Forks last season, and we get this cringe-ass line from Richie.
Every second counts, bitches.
Which doesn't seem intentional, bizarrely. Do these fuckers actually think that was funny? What the fuck? After that, you'll be delighted to know the next quarter of an hour of the episode is spent wasting fucking time!
Dish was awful. Cause like now my desserts are so like just scaled back. I think this dish had 12 elements on it.
Mine was cornbread ice cream. Working for this guy. Working for this guy. He ran me through the gamut. How many different ways can you get ice cream to taste like cornbread?
Shut the fuck up!
We're made to endure some of the most pointless, worthless, unfunny dialogue possible. Nobody cares about the restaurant industry, Chris, except for people in the restaurant industry, and you, apparently. And Chris Storer Dick Rider 69. The whole reason why the first and second season worked so well is because the restaurant stuff was more peripheral to the actual focus of the show, which was its compelling character drama. If Whiplash was a movie about a normal guy being taught by a normal music instructor, and the only thing to be gained from the movie was a detailed knowledge of what it's like to attend drumming lessons, I don't think a single person on planet Earth would give a solitary fuck about that movie. Except for people who like drumming, I guess. You have to offer more. I don't care that this woman spent months trying to get cornbread-flavoured ice cream, Chris. Why the fuck are we spending time on this bumfuck nobody character talking about getting a haircut? Nobody cares. This is not Richard Linklater's waking life. These conversations are not interesting. They might as well be saying live, laugh, love on repeat for 15 minutes. And now, if that wasn't bad enough, While all this is happening, Carmen's having 60 trillion billion flashbacks like some kind of Vietnam War veteran to things we already know. Again, wasn't one of the non-negotiables in this show subtraction? How about you listen to your own fucking characters, Chris, and subtract some of these constant, pointless fucking flashbacks, please? There's no need to show us them. We can very easily guess what will be on Carmi's mind in this moment without the need for you to spell it out for us like we're babies. Retarded babies. Blind, deaf, retarded babies. Also known as Christopher Storer. So finally, after all that, we get to the apex of the episode. The part I've been waiting for. The reunion of Carmi with his old chef. And you know what? It's a good scene. Both actors perform their characters well, the conversation is actually compelling, and it's a cathartic moment for the show. And in a weird way, it makes me hate this episode even more, that such a good scene is placed at the centre of what is the most insultingly bad episode of the entire show. Let's get into that, shall we? So, after the dinner is over, we get more uninteresting conversations that lead to nowhere. Sydney's still not sure whether she's going to quit or stay at the Bear, a conflict that should not have been left to be resolved until the last 10 minutes of the final episode of the season. Oh wait, they don't resolve it! The one new conflict they introduced this season, introduced by the way, 3 fucking episodes ago, they do nothing with. Cool. But that's not the most insulting thing. The real insult, the real punch in the teeth before spitting on our limp, lifeless bodies is the ending, in which we get the most gross, unearned, unsatisfying, insulting to be continued of all time. I kid you not. In the last 30 seconds of this episode, they decide to throw in this huge curveball where Carm's restaurant gets a bad review, which apparently is jeopardizing its entire future now. And that's where the season ends. The audacity, the absolute audacity to end on a cliffhanger when the entire season has been nothing but flashbacks to things we've already seen and boring fuck nothing conversations with no interesting drama or conflict is absolutely criminal. I feel scammed to have wasted 6 hours of my time watching nothing happen, only for something to occur in the last 30 seconds of the last episode, so as to keep audiences who ought to expect more from their television hooked on for next season. It's insulting. Let's quickly recap. Episode 1 was shown things we already know. Episode 2, shown things we already know. Episode 3, shown things we already know. Episode 4, things we already know. Episode 5, things we already know. Episode 6, things we already know. Episode 7, things we already know. Do you get my point yet? Obviously, there are some new things introduced this season and some character growth and progression, but my god, it is not nearly enough to fill 6 hours worth of television, and there is absolutely no world in which this season, with as little story as it has, is justified in ending on a to be continued. And it is this, for me, that seals this season's fate as, without a doubt, the worst season of the show, but more significantly, one of the biggest television disappointments in recent memory. Or is it? Is it a disappointment? The more time I spent thinking about this season, and stewing over the last one, I'm not actually confident I'd call this latest season a disappointment, so much as it is a natural progression from season 2. And here's where I think this video gets a little spicy. Oh hey, food pun. From what I've gathered online, people tend to largely be in agreement that the latest season is the weakest one. What's less agreed upon is that season 2, in my opinion, is very severely flawed, and in many ways contains much of the issues that plague this latest season. Now don't get me wrong, I do like season 2 overall, but that is largely because of 2 singular episodes, the hour-long fishes and the finale episode, The Bear. You can probably guess why. Honestly, it cannot be overstated enough how much her performance adds to the entertainment value of this show. She's such an interesting, flawed character, and Curtis plays her so well. But to give them credit, the quality of both those episodes are not reliant on her. The Fishes episode has been praised at length by many other great YouTubers, so I won't delve into it too much here, but goddamn, it's just such an anxiety-filled nightmare of an episode filled with great character moments and memorable, gripping scenes. And the same can be said, albeit to a lesser extent, with the final episode. The argument in the fridge being a great moment for, developing new character drama. However, even in that episode, we can see some of the issues that are persistent throughout season 3, one of them being the overuse of music that implies emotional significance. The annoying thing is, as well, is that in the episode, the writing and acting is good enough that it doesn't need it. Yet every time we move back into the kitchen from the dining room, this shitty, tense action music plays, just to remind us that this is a tense, anxious environment we're entering.
Swamped here. Do you want to switch it?
Food's going too slow.
Which tables?
All tables.
All tables.
I gotta talk to Marcus. Marcus, we're down 12 bread sets, all right?
I need hands for
Stop playing that music!
And during Kami's breakdown, they play some generic sad music, like with children who can't comprehend what emotions we're supposed to feel in this scene. In regards to the rest of season 2, I gotta say I was not huge on the first half. Not dreadful by any means, but it's about on par with the quality of the first 5 episodes of season 3, excluding episode 1, because fuck that piece of shit. The first 5 episodes of season 2 contain the same issues of repeating information the audience is already aware of, padding out time with nothing conversations, and you have that 3rd episode, and the entire thing is spent watching Sydney go around trying food, but not in a cool, fun, Anthony Bourdain way, more of a boring, why the fuck am I watching this sort of way. Both seasons, but obviously more so the latest installment, suffer from too little story. The main thing that saved season 2 from being anywhere close to as bad as season 3, however, is that it felt like we were actually heading somewhere, and Stora had an actual season arc in mind, where in every episode it felt like we were always working towards the opening of this restaurant. I haven't the slightest fucking clue what the story arc of the latest season was. The Michelin star thing could have worked as a goal for the season, but that was mentioned in episode 2 and then never brought up again, and none of the characters seemed to be at all concerned with that by the end of the show. The entire season just felt aimless, as if the trajectory of where this story was meant to go and its ending had been stripped away. Well, funny that, because that's probably what happened. Now, admittedly, this is somewhat speculation on my part, though pretty reasonable speculation in my opinion, but in various interviews and podcasts, Stora has talked about how as of the time of writing season 1, he only had a vague idea of where the story was going for the next 2 seasons, with him saying as much as of the time of season 2's release.
Since we sort of have season 1, 2, and 3 figured out, I think in terms of season 3, we have the map. We sort of know where it's going.
As far as I'm aware, Stora only ever had an idea of where the show was going for 3 seasons. So it's no wonder season 3 turned out the way it did when season 4 was filmed back to back with it. I don't know whose brain-rotted decision this was, but it seems to me that whatever story they had in mind for season 3 was most likely stretched to cover 2 seasons worth of content, and it was not enough. There is no way Stora originally intended season 3 to end on a cliffhanger this insulting. Obviously, this is one of the most painfully blatant examples of stretching a script out for the TV format I've ever seen. But the thing is, the sad thing, is that this is not an exclusive problem to The Bear. Right now, there is an industry-wide problem within television of stretching out content beyond its limits. You need look no further than the other shows on Disney Plus to see examples of this. The Kenobi show, originally a movie script, stretched out to a 6-episode miniseries. Basically every Marvel show, despite apparently being originally written as shows, are horrendously paced. I mean, in that Falcon and the Winter Soldier show, we spent 10 minutes of that first episode watching Falcon take out a loan for his sister's fishing business or something? What the fuck? And this is not a new problem either. Shows like The Walking Dead have long been criticised for their length and lack of story. This is a television problem. So if there's one message I'd like to impart with you from this video, is that you should ask for more from the art you consume. Don't settle for lazy television shows that waste your time, that don't excite you, that don't make you anxious, make you sad, make you laugh. I mean, hopefully, with all the payoff for the setup of Season 3, presumably being lopped off and moved into Season 4. The next installment of The Bear will be better. But if it's not, don't continue to watch the show. Write a review. Make your voice heard in whatever way you can so that the producers and directors and writers know that we don't want lazy, padded out television. I want television that moves me, makes me want to keep on watching, and most importantly, I don't ever want to see another fucking flashback ever again. Thanks for watching.